Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start the management of gynecological cancer. In the last session, we discussed about general cancers of gynec, which deals with staging, grading, what are the sign symptoms of gynecological cancer in general. And we would be taking each cancer, be it ovarian, endometrial, cervical, vulvar, or vaginal, separately. Today we are also going to talk about management in general, which would be applicable to all types of cancer of the body, but for gynec cancer to be specific. So when you manage a cancer, you all know by now that cancer is an abnormal growth of cell which is in an uncontrolled way. It's a progressive disease and there are certain risk factors. When you are going to manage a case of gynecological cancer, the person, you can see this person who is at the crossroads and he is confused as to what modality of investigations he has to do, whether it to be MRI or X-ray or PET scan, what should be the mode of a treatment, be it surgery, be it chemo, be it radio, or he should opt any other method. So this is the status when one finds out that he or she has cancer. And seeing to the Indian society, you have lots of alternatives. You have alternative medicines available, homeopathy, acupuncture, naturopathy, and all types of babas. But what you have to advise them is that once you have cancer and they are confused of where to go and whom to meet, there should be a big no to all these. A big no to all quacks, herbal, protein powders, alternative medicines, all babas and other doctors and street advisors, and they should remember to go to a cancer hospital, because we saw that the tumor doubling time is the time which we get if we treat the patient or manage the patient well. There is a chance that we can save that patient. So remember to go to a cancer hospital and meet a qualified doctor. Best would be a surgical oncologist or radiation oncologist or medical oncologist would be the best guide. And there should be, of course, no second thought, please. So choosing a cancer hospital also is important. There should be a cancer hospital with a tumor board facility and all specialties, especially all essential machineries and support services of surgery, radiation and chemo, preferably under one roof. The diagnosis and treatment involves a multidisciplinary approach. The surgeon, the oncologist, the cytopathologist and the histopathologist and molecular pathologist or genetist, nursing and supporting staff, of course a radiologist and a psychiatrist, and audit team. So these are the requirements when we are managing cancer of any type and gynec cancer to be specific. The factors for a particular person would depend upon how fit the patient is, what is the age of the patient, what is the stage of the disease, what is the type of the lesion, what are the resources available. That would be the choice of treatment would depend on that. Then, of course, the risk of nodal spread, whether it is in stage 1, stage 2, where the pelvic nodes are involved, or that indicates the stage of the disease. The higher the stage of the disease, the less likely is the treatment to be successful. So, coming to management. The management primarily involves the primary treatment, that is what you are going to do in the first place. Then there would be an adjuvant treatment, that is what is the add-on treatment. Adjuvant treatment also would be adjuvant, that is what would follow the primary treatment, or it could be neoadjuvant, that is it would precede. It would be first you give a radio or chemo and then you go to the primary treatment. And of course in the later stages of the disease, you give a palliative management. So the modalities are surgery. In gynecological we are discussing our surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, immunotherapy as a mode, hormone therapy, palliative therapy, subsequent therapy and gene therapy. So coming to the primary treatment of surgery. Cancer treatment involves medical procedures which would destroy, modify, control or remove the cancer cells. It basically involves the primary treatment and treatment of the regional and metastatic spread. The goals of treatment would include, the best would be eradicate known tumors entirely, then prevent the recurrence or spread of that primary cancer, and relieving the symptoms if all responsible curative approaches have exhausted. Primary goal is to choose an approach that will remove that tumor. That is, get rid of the body of wandering cancer cells and prevent a recurrence. The cancer-directed treatment, any treatment that is given to modify, control, remove or destroy primary or metastatic cancer tissue is called as the cancer-directed treatment. And when the treatment is designed to prepare the patient for other things, then it is called as the non-cancer directed treatment. That is to prolong the patient's life, to alleviate the pain or to make patient comfortable in any way. These are non-cancer directed treatments. These treatments include diagnostic tests and supportive care. As we go to history, based on the descriptions which were discovered by Egyptian papyri, surgeries were performed way back by ancient Egyptians, and it may be the oldest form of treatment for cancer until the mid of 20th century. In fact, surgery was considered the only treatment modalities that could cure the patients with cancer. There was an attempt to remove the localized tumor, reduce the size of large tumors, and have a follow-up treatment by radiation or chemotherapy to make it more effective. So that would be the curative purpose. Other than curative purpose, the cancer as a surgery as a mode for cancer was also done as a diagnostic. That is for staging of the cancer, which we saw in the last lecture. All types of biopsies. Then surgeries are also performed to relieve as a palliative or supportive measure. That is supposed to relieve the pain or to repair deformities. We will come to this in this lecture. So surgery as a treatment modality can be curative when we are removing the whole of the tumor, can be diagnostic, that is when we are removing a piece of tumor, that is biopsy, or palliative when it is a higher grade or higher stage tumor where you only give treatment, surgery, when you only do surgery to relieve pain or repair deformities. So surgical techniques of cancer could be diagnostic surgery, could be preventive surgery, could be curative surgery, palliative surgery or reconstructive surgery. And the modes used could be cryo, electro, laser, gamma knife or en bloc resection. So cryo is cold, electro is heat, laser is another ray, gamma knife and en bloc resection. So coming to them one by one. Coming to diagnostic methods. These are basically to detect or confirm the suspicion of presence of cancer. Diagnosis procedure involves physically removing a small part of tumor or suspected tissue, which we call as biopsy. It can be cells, it can be fluid, and typically leaving the gross tumor, which may be malignant, which may not be malignant, into the body. That is what we call as biopsy sample. And then you send to the pathology and you see whether it is a positive for diagnosis, and if it is positive, what is the histologic type. And we saw that you can also stage the disease and you can also see whether it is primary or metastatic by that biopsy. The similar is with cytology, where you do needle biopsies or core biopsies and then subject it to the histopathological or cytological examination. But at times there may be that cytology may be inadequate. Then coming to the types of, to name a few, I can say that they are incisional biopsy, excisional biopsy, endoscopic, colposcopic, bone marrow biopsy, fine needle aspiration biopsy, stereostatic biopsy, and core biopsy. Then, as a curative measure, we saw that we removed the whole of the tumor. What about preventive measure as a surgery? Preventive measure as a surgery is new. It is a prophylactic surgery. This is one which we do in gynec, that is risk reducing salpingectomy or salpingo-oophorectomy. Having said that, what do I mean by that? It is a preventive measure, that it removes the tissue that does not contain cancer cells. But those tissues have a probability of becoming cancer in future. Basically, for those women who have a strong family history of ovarian cancer, and based on the studies whose mother or sister had ovarian cancer, had a higher risk, average risk of developing ovarian cancer. And after taking consent of the patient, you remove the ovaries of the woman when you are doing hysterectomy to avoid the risk of ovarian cancer is called prophylactic oophorectomy. That is removal of both ovaries. Another example would be, suppose BRC1, BRC2, BRCA1, BRCA2 congenital or genetic trait if present in a female, she may benefit from removal of the breast. That is, if she has a cancer in one breast, contralateral breast at times is removed for prevention of the spread or likelihood that it would become cancer in the future. For gynec, we do often do risk reducing salpingectomy or salpingo-oophorectomy. Then we discuss preventive, we discuss small biopsies. Now what about curative surgeries? Curative surgeries take a much more radical surgical approach. Typically at times may be removal of that organ. That is, in gynec we remove the uterus as such. So we remove the whole organ of origin in curative surgery. And attempt is to cure the patients whose tumors are localized at times at the time of diagnosis. Suppose you do a cervical biopsy, that biopsy comes out to be positive, you see that the lesion is small and it is in the cervix, and then you remove the whole of the uterus, at times the tubes and ovaries also, and this is a removal of the whole organs or curative surgery. What we are trying to do is that in curative surgery, a certain amount of normal tissue as well as cancerous tissue is removed to obtain an adequate margins. That is, when you are doing a Versailles operation, suppose you are doing an extended hysterectomy where you are removing a part of the upper part of the vagina as such, then you are taking a tumor-free margin so as to minimize the risk of any cancer cells being left behind, so as to minimize that recurrence would not occur. At the same time, in the Versailles, what you are doing is that along with the tumor tissue of cancer, you are removing the pelvic lymph nodes that are adjacent to the tumors, and therefore it becomes a total curative surgery. The tools may be any. The tools may be scalpel, that is open surgery, the tool may be laser, it may be cryo, it may be ablation or electrocauterization. So tools may be anything. What about palliative surgery? Word palliative surgery or supportive surgery is usually done in advanced cases of cancer. Most patients of cancer may experience pain when the disease is advanced. Approximately 80% may have pain. And in palliative surgery, what you do is you do a nerve block procedure. You are not able to remove the tumor. You are not able to give her surgical curative cure. and then what you do is to alleviate the pain, you interrupt the pain signals by doing a nerve block. Suppose there is a cancer which has involved the ureter, and it is in the stage that it has involved the ureter. In that case, you place a stent to alleviate the obstruction. Palliative procedures are recorded as non-cancer directed surgeries. Another terminology is reconstructive surgeries. So in this lecture, you would just get familiar with all the terminologies which we will be using with a particular cancer type. So what is reconstructive surgery? Reconstructive surgery is of course not cosmetic surgery. It is different. It is reconstruction. That is, whatever defects that cancer has caused, you have to reconstruct that. Suppose there is a breast cancer in which you have removed the breast, and breast reconstruction following that surgery perhaps is the most common example of reconstructive surgery. In cosmetic surgery, what you do is there is no cancer, there is a normal breast tissue, and you are reshaping the normal structures of the body, or it is basically to improve the patient's appearance in cosmetic surgery. Reconstructive surgeries are also done in traumatic injuries, in developmental abnormalities, in birth defects, in other physical abnormalities. So that is reconstructive. Having known what is curative, what is palliative, what is preventive, reconstructive surgeries, what would be your approach of surgery? The approach can be open surgery, what you call as laparotomy in gynec. It could be endoscopic, that is laparoscopic surgery, that could be an approach. And two other things are cryosurgery and electrosurgery. What is cryo? Cryo is extreme cold. It is seen that extreme cold, when the cancer cells are exposed to extreme cold, that also destroys the cancer cells. So for a carcinoma cervix, using a liquid nitrogen at about minus 196 degrees Celsius or minus 320 degrees Fahrenheit, which is applied directly to the cancer cells or tissue with a cotton swab or spraying device, can also be a modality of treatment for cancers of gynec. For internal tumors, liquid nitrogen is circulated through an instrument called cryoprobe, which is placed in contact with the tumor. And most of the time, this type of cryosurgery is often done as a cycle treatment. That is, the tumor is frozen, then you give some gap in which the tumor thaws, and then you again start and give her cryo so that it is refrozen. That is one modality. Then there is an electrocauterization surgery, that is, you cauterize or burn the tissues, unwanted or harmful tissue, like what you do in a blood vessel, sealing it off. This type of electrocautery is called as fulguration, sometimes called as electrodesiccation, and is the destruction of tissue with diathermy instrument, like example you do it via a cystoscope into the bladder implants. That is what you do. So that is also a mode of or approach to surgery. Another approach to surgery is laser surgery. The laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Through a complicated electronic process, a beam of light is produced, most of the time one color spectrum. They improve the precision of the surgeon and finally focus beams of light. There is a modality called photodynamic therapy also. What do we mean by second look operations? So we saw that is a primary surgery, that is when the patient comes to you first. The first operation which you do is the primary operation. But maybe after some disease-free interval of more than a year or so, or maybe after some adjuvant therapies of chemo or radio, the patient may again require surgery, maybe after 1 year. So that is called as second look operations. It could be second look open operation, it could second look laparoscopy, and what you do is resection of the isolated metastases which are there. If removal of the solitary metastasis may be performed at second look operations. So second look operations is usually done after some disease free interval, maybe after a year or so of the primary surgery. What about the surgery of the primary site? That involves surgical procedure, we saw. And what was the surgical procedure? It would modify, control, remove or destroy the cancerous tissue. And you decide the site by quadrants. Suppose in case of cancer cervix, you divide it into 4 quadrants. You divide into anterior, posterior, 2 lateral quadrants. You divide it into where the regional lymph node surgery is there. That is in case of cancer breast, you may do one side or contralateral side. That is a surgery of primary side. What is the term debulking surgery? Debulking surgery is performed to remove as much tumor as possible or safely possible. Suppose the tumor is so large that it is involving the vital structure. Suppose example larynx tumor, or in a way where it is in the neck, or even in gynecological cancer it may be large, so you remove it as much bulk as possible, especially in later stages of disease, and then you would do an adjuvant. So that is a debulking surgery. Name given to it is debulking surgery. Another terminology which you would come across is sentinel lymph node biopsy. So what is the scope of regional lymph node surgery or biopsy? In gynecological cancer, the 2 main lymph nodes which are involved are one adjacent to the primary cancer, that is pelvic lymph nodes, and then there is a distant space which are called as regional lymph nodes. And in case of cancer breast, it is the axillary which is regional, and in case of gynecological it is pelvic which is regional, and then distant metastasis which goes into the para-aortic lymph nodes. So what is sentinel lymph node biopsy? Basically, it involves the lymph node dissection in which multiple nodes along the lymph node chain. We all know that the lymph nodes or lymph runs in chain, and the first node which comes in contact with that primary tumor is called as the sentinel or policeman node. That resection of the surgery or regional lymph node involves surgical resection of the lymph nodes that are considered primary. So what is sentinel lymph node biopsy? What you do is you do various mapping techniques which we will see in the further part of the lecture. That mapping techniques by suppose MRI or CT scan or PET scan. What you do is you map the cancer, and then while you are doing surgery, it permits the intraoperative identification of the first lymph node in the lymphatic basin which is highest risk of metastasis. So in case of gynecological surgery, suppose obturator lymph node is suppose it is the first node which would be affected, and that is called as sentinel lymph node. It is said that if sentinel lymph node comes out to be negative, suppose you are doing a frozen section at that time for metastatic disease, the remaining lymph nodes are also likely to be negative. So this type of demarcation or ability to accurately map the lymph nodes that receive the lymphatic flow from the primary cancer site would limit the full complete lymph node chain up to the para-aortic area, and therefore would protect us or prevent that major morbidity or side effects of large lymph node chain dissection, one of which may be lymphedema, which you create because you have removed all the lymph chains of that area, or paresthesis which you produce because you have cut the nerves of that area, so you have caused paresthesia. So this removing of sentinel lymph node and the rest of the things can be covered by other adjuvant therapy, maybe radio or chemo, depending upon the sensitivity of the tumor. So this is called a sentinel lymph node biopsy. This we will be discussing as we discuss each chapter. and there would be a total hysterectomy and what do you call as radical hysterectomy, where you remove the right and left parametrium along with the lymph nodes, that we will be discussing in each chapter. Now moving on, having completed the surgical part, what are the other modalities of treatment? Second important modality of management of gynecological cancer is radiation therapy. Radiation therapy is used in all types of gynecological cancer. Carcinoma cervix, endocervical cancer, endometrial, ovarian, vulvar and vaginal, and non-gestational choriocarcinoma as well. Radiotherapy is required up to 90% of the cases of carcinoma cervix require radiation as an adjuvant, because carcinoma cervix cancer is radiosensitive. And then endometrial carcinoma, 60% of the cases require radiation on a whole. Carcinoma vulva 50%, and almost all women of vaginal cancer would require as an adjuvant radiotherapy. Less of ovarian cancer, because most of the time the ovarian cancer type responds to chemotherapy. Coming to the brief history of radiation. The first patient was treated with radiation in 1986. It was only 2 months after the discovery of X-rays. Rapid technology advances began from 1950 onwards, when cobalt units came into place. The cobalt was later followed by linear accelerator, and now we have many recent technologies for radiation therapy. So X-rays were a diagnostic value and prognostic value for treatment of this cancer. Coming to the radiotherapy timeline, in 1895 there were X-rays and radiation therapy. Then in 1950 there came cobalt and linear accelerators, betatrons. And then in 1965 onwards we had a 2D planning, that is a planning how to give that radiation, and high energies and simulators came into existence. In the last 20 or 30 years, that is from 1980 onwards, we have CT scanners, 3D planning, and accurate dose which is to be given to the cancer cells, that is dosimetry, that is preserving the normal cells and giving accurate dose to the cancer cells. And from 1995 onwards, we have better modalities of treatment, that is MRI, PET scan, PET CTs and others. And of course imaging, which we will be discussing, IMRT and IGRT. Also 1950 onwards, that is in the 50 to 60 years past, we had a scientific forces behind our field, that is nuclear and particle physics came into existence, computer science came into existence, imaging came into existence, and biotechnology came into existence. And therefore radiotherapy, previously only surgery was the modality, and then radiotherapy came into existence with this timeline. Radiotherapy, like surgery, can be curative, can be given adjuvant with the surgery, can be palliative or symptomatic radiotherapy, and therapeutic also for survival benefit. What does radiation therapy do? It uses the high energy ionizing radiation to kill the cancer cells. Ionizing radiation has the ability to penetrate the tissue cells and deposit energy within them. Just like we had a history of surgical treatment of cancer, radiation therapy also has a history, way back from when X-rays were discovered by Röntgen. And it was in the form of invisible high energy radiation, which was used as X-rays were used to diagnose and also treat. So that is the picture which you saw, that radiation, 99% radiation procedures were used to treat cancer. They could penetrate through many objects, forming images, and it was later discovered that X-rays can kill cancer cells as well, or it could at least shrink the tumors because of high energy emission. And therefore this treatment was called as radiation therapy. It uses X-rays, gamma rays and other sources of radiation to destroy the cancer cells. How does it do that? It breaking up the molecules and causing reactions that damage the living cells. Sometimes it may be at the level of the exit orbit electrons or at the level of DNA, so that the cells cannot divide. So understanding radiation therapy, also called as radiotherapy, also called as radiation oncology, but it has not to be confused with radiology. Radiology is a separate science, which is basically the ultrasonography and diagnosis which we see for benign lesions. Radiotherapy or radiation oncology is only and only deals with cure of or giving cancer treatment. So physical principles of radiation therapy involve radiation biology, radiation sources. The modalities can be external radiotherapy, which is called as teletherapy, and internal radiotherapy, which is called as brachytherapy. Brachy means short distance. Then there can be interstitial radiotherapy. We will discuss complications and contraindications to radiotherapy, some new techniques which are basically based on sparing the adjacent normal healthy tissue, and role of preoperative, that is neoadjuvant radiotherapy, and postoperative, that is adjuvant to surgical treatment. So that is radiation therapy. It can be delivered as primary radiotherapy. At times when surgery is not feasible, you give radiotherapy as a primary modality. Adjuvant therapy, that is which follows surgery. You have done the main tumor resection by surgical procedure, and to minimize the spread or recurrence by the margins, you give an adjuvant radiotherapy for radiosensitive tumors. Neoadjuvant radiotherapy, when you first give radiotherapy, you shrink the size of the tumor, and then which is followed after some time by surgery. And palliative, when the stage of cancer is such that neither primary radiotherapy can be given, neither primary surgery can be given, but only palliation radiotherapy can be given, that is a stage 3 or 4 cancers. The principles behind are delivering optimal dose to tumor. That is the principle. Optimal dose should reach the tumor of radiation to the extent that it destroys the tumor cells. At the same time, there should be a minimal damage to the surrounding healthy tissue. So the second important is that there should be minimal damage to the surrounding healthy non-cancer cells. When it is used as a primary radiotherapy as the only modality of treatment, then when it is given with the unresectable locally advanced disease. Suppose the disease is advanced, you first give it as radiotherapy, you find out by biopsy that it is radiosensitive tumors, you start giving radiotherapy, and you know that it cannot be resected at a later stage, but whatever relief you can give to the patient as a primary modality, you can do that. That is one indication. Second, with resectable disease, in whom the risk of surgical morbidity is unexpectedly high. The stage of cancer is within the surgical limit, but patient has so many other problems that doing surgery would be a risk to the patient, so you first start with radiotherapy. With medical risk factors that contraindicate primary surgical therapy, and to the risk maybe to the extent that now or never, you can never do a surgical therapy because of medical risk, so you primarily give radiotherapy. Adjuvant radiotherapy, we discussed that early stage lesions, especially in our field, lower genitourinary tract, are treated surgically. Resection is accomplished like hysterectomy, and you see the margins, whether they are negative or positive margins with acceptable morbidity, and post-operatively you give an adjuvant radiotherapy for those cases where future risk of margins are positive, where you suggest that the risk of cancer or local recurrence would be there, and so advise her adjuvant radiotherapy. We discussed neoadjuvant radiotherapy, that is sometimes neoadjuvant radiotherapy is given before surgery to render an inoperable tumor operable for preserving the organ. You cannot remove his uterus now, but you can give a neoadjuvant radiotherapy so as to shrink the tumor, and you can save the organ for a later date. Palliative radiotherapy, when it is only to improve the quality of life. It used to palliate the symptoms of painful bone metastasis or relieve features of raised intracranial tension in brain metastasis, or in cases of superior vena cava obstruction to relieve dyspnea, you are giving a palliative radiotherapy. Like in surgery, where you have different modalities, in radiotherapy also you have different modalities. What are the modalities of irradiation? External beam radiation and short distance or brachytherapy. External beam radiation is used to treat the whole pelvis, including the uterus, cervix, fallopian tube, ovaries, parametrium and regional lymph nodes. A linear accelerator is used to deliver mega voltage photons to treat the whole of the pelvis. Gamma rays from cobalt-60 machine are also used to deliver radiation. So this is the machine for the external beam radiation. So this is the table where the patient would lie. This is the focusing of the beam which you will be doing for gynec cancer, and then these would be the machines which would focus that beam onto the tumor cells with minimum tissue damage of normal structures. So in external beam radiation or teletherapy, the radiation is given from a distant source from outside the body and directed to the cancer site. Here the source is here and the rays or beams go so that they reach the site. So the source is away from the body. That is teletherapy. This includes ortho voltage, X-ray machines, cobalt-60 machines, linear accelerators. We will be discussing them. Proton beam machines, neutron beam machines, low energy radiation. These are the modalities where, depending upon the type of isotope you are using. The low energy radiation does not penetrate very deeply. So you are giving a radiation from distance. Now that is one, that is the source is here. Secondly, how much it should penetrate depend upon how deep you want to go. Suppose low energy radiation you would use only for a skin cancer, and high energy radiation you would use for deeper cancers. External beam therapy is usually painless and most patients do not need to stay in the hospital. X-ray, cobalt, linear accelerator, neutron, betatron, spray radiation, stereotactic radiosurgery, gamma knife, proton beam, they are all the modalities by which you can give external beam radiation. What you are giving in gynecological, whole pelvis you are giving radiation. That is, you are giving it to the uterus, both adnexa, vagina, parametrial tissues, all the types of ligaments, all the pelvic lymph nodes are being irradiated by the whole pelvis irradiation. And as discussed, we divide it into fields, anterior posterior portals and two lateral fields, and then you give this high energy particles which are delivered on the affected area from outside the body. Typically such type of radiation you have a plan, that is, you deliver for 5 days in a week. You plan it out for the patient, suppose Monday to Friday, and then you say ki how many weeks would it require, maybe for 5 weeks, maybe for 8 weeks. That would be the total duration where you give the external radiation. So you give a slot of 1 hour or 40 minutes each day from Monday to Friday, and then each Monday to Friday for 5 weeks or 8 weeks. That would complete one course. What about brachytherapy? Brachy means short distance. In this modality, the source of radiation is placed inside the body as close to tumor as possible. Suppose in this case of cancer of cervix. So these are the instruments which are loaded with the radiation drug, and what you are doing is that, suppose this is the cervix, you put one inside the uterus and you can put two here, or you can put 3 here, and depending on 3 here, that is the type of brachytherapy you would learn in type of cancer cervix, which have been named by various cities. Like this is the A is the Manchester technique, where you use these 2 balls. This is the Paris technique, where you use 3 of them, and this is the Stockholm technique, where you use the ovoid ones. So this is basically, one is the rod here and 2 ovoids which are placed here, and this is when you are placing it. So the source of radiation is not outside, but it is placed in the body as close as tumor to possible. Suppose it is a cancer cervix or cancer endometrium, you are placing it as close to the tumor as possible. It consists of placement of the intrauterine or vaginal applicators. So what you are doing is, this is the intrauterine applicator and this is the vaginal applicators. They are then loaded with the source of radiation. Whatever source of radiation you are using it, maybe there are various sources. One such is cesium-137, which is used for low dose radiation, and iridium-192 is used as a high dose radiation, and high dose radiation is usually completed in few minutes. The low dose takes 1 to 2 days to complete. It can be the shape of them. The shape which are used can be of various these types. They can be ovoids, they can be rods, they can be capsules, they can be wires, seeds, molds, which are placed close to the tumor and with a minimum exposure to normal tissue. So this is brachytherapy, which is different from teletherapy, where it is given from distance. High tolerance of the uterus and vagina make it ideally suited for brachytherapy. The sealed radioactive sources are used to deliver radiation at short distance, possibly to deliver high dose locally to the tumor with rapid dose fall from surrounding to normal tissue. We saw that this is the rapid dose fall. That is immediately near the tumor, it is 200 rads. And as we go outside, the fall of energy is up to 30. So with a rapid fall of dose from surrounding normal tissue to the surrounding normal tissues. Commonly used isotopes can be iridium or cobalt or cesium. The uterine tandem means in line, is inserted into the length which depends on the length of the. So this is tandem, 1, 2, 3, depending upon the length, how much big the uterus is, you put them in tandem. The sources are put in line. 2 ovoids are placed in the fornices and vagina are packed with a gauze. This decreases the dose to the rectum and bladder because they are near. And using an afterloading technique, the source is introduced into the voids and the tandem. Dwell time and dwell position are calculated so that the desired dose to the point A can be achieved. So these are the how you monitor. This is once you have placed, see this, and this is the position of the patient, and this is in place. This is the vertical limb, this is the ovoids which are there, this is the vertical limb, this is a cancer uterus, these are the ovoids, and these are the plates which are put. This is intracavitary cylinders, this is one which is put in this is intracavitary cylinder. So you have seen these are the 2 ovoids which are put. You can put it multiple in the cervix or in the vagina. They can be this type of implantation also when you are putting. These are all cylinders which are loaded with the radioactive material. So these are the modalities of internal or brachytherapy. These are preloaded or it can be afterloaded. They can be manual, they can be remote, they can be low dose, they can be high dose, depending upon what you are planning is done. And you saw that there are 3 techniques, Paris, Stockholm and Manchester technique, and there are different. This would be more detail in carcinoma cervix, where how much you put in the uterine tube, how much you put in the uterine ovoids, they are different. Number of applications you give, the duration of treatment is given in different type of treatment of carcinoma cervix. But basically it is brachytherapy, that is it is near therapy. What would be the effect of radiation? It would depend upon the organ, it would depend upon how much that organ would tolerate, and if it is not tolerating, what would be the side effects. Suppose in small intestine and rectum, it would cause diarrhea, chronic obstruction. If it is large tolerance, then it can cause fistula, bleeding, obstruction. If it is ureter, the same. Kidneys, it can cause renal hypertension and failure. And spinal cord and nerves, it can cause cauda equina, and bones, it can cause aplastic anemia and various hematological changes. This diagram also shows that pre-operative and post-operative radiation has its advantages and disadvantages. When you give radiation as a pre-operative, the surgically undisturbed tumor bed you get, intact vascularity you get, good oxygenation you get, and may facilitate surgical resection later. And there is a decreased likelihood of implantation or dissemination of viable tumor cells during surgical handling. But of course, it comes with a disadvantage, that is the staging of disease cannot be done because you're not surgically opening it. Considered you are not taking biopsy of that time, maybe unnecessary. There may be high chances of cure with surgery alone. It interferes with the tissue healing because once you are given radiation therapy, there is a lot of fibrosis, and once you plan surgery, it may be 6 weeks or 8 weeks by the time you will be able to open the abdomen. So there are advantages and disadvantages, and it has to be discussed with the patient and with the team. The post-operative radiation, what we call as adjuvant, accurate staging has been done, so that is an advantage. Extent of local regional disease has because most of the disease you have been removed, maybe it is debulking, and then the disadvantage are that surgery may alter the kinetics. You may not get an undisturbed tumor bed, you may not get a good vascularity, you may not get a good oxygenation after you have removed or disturbed the cancer area, and there may be lot of hypoxia. Various isotopes are available. These are the radium isotopes which are available. These are the names of the isotopes with their half-life and what they can be used in gynecological surgery. Coming to contraindications, there is a severe anemia or poor general health, so that the patient cannot tolerate radiotherapy, lot of infection. In pregnancy, you avoid giving radiotherapy, or the tumors are chemosensitive and not radiosensitive or radioresistance, you avoid giving that. Presence of other diseases, you have to think of radiotherapy. In cases of special cases, one is pregnancy. Suppose that there is a cancer, breast, and the patient is a first or second trimester pregnancy. So then you can advise her that since it's a long time she would deliver, so get her medical termination, get her cancer treatment done, followed by stage-wide treatment, and then she can plan her pregnancy after 2 weeks where the cancer treatment is complete. Suppose she has reached the third trimester pregnancy and she has been diagnosed malignancy of any part of the body, then let her continue till 34 weeks with all the fetal monitoring and institution of steroids of fetal lung maturity, allow elective cesarean section, then do a stage-wise treatment of the cancer after 4 to 6 weeks of cesarean section. So these are special circumstances. Suppose the patient has a large uterovaginal prolapse, then manual reduction during radiotherapy, if possible, should be done. Suppose there is a procedentia, then prolapse reduction under anesthesia may be done. You would stitch the labia, and then you would go so that the uterus comes into the place of the gynecological cancer, and then give radiotherapy. Suppose the patient is already immunocompromised, the patient is HIV patient and still she has cancer. Then you, depending upon the CD4 count, you would give her the type of radiotherapy or chemotherapy or stage-wise radiotherapy or palliation therapy with, of course, all universal aseptic precautions. There are words like curability and there are words like planning. What does means curable? That is, what is the normal dose which would be required to make it radio curable? That is a curative purpose. So it should be, the dose should be such that it should cure the tumor. At the same time, it should not destroy the normal tissue. So normal tissue tumor relationship is the radio curability. How much it is cured and how much it has destroyed the normal tissue. What is planning? Though whenever you are taking an approach of tele or brachy, what you need is a good planning, so that the radiation is directed to the tumor itself and the immediate surrounding areas, destroys the main tumors and the preventing the nearby tumor spread. High total doses of radiation are needed to destroy the main tumor, and low doses are usually needed to destroy the spread of tumor. So they are planned by radiation therapists and physicists, which exclude the uninvolved vital organs and tissues. That multiple staging and planning and dosing has to be done. So what is that called? That is called as simulation, that planning. So that can be 2D, that can be 3D. There are various methods by which this brachy and the teletherapy can be given. So 2D treatment it was the initial one, where the 2D images you could get and you did not have an idea of depth. And then came the 3D planning, where you could know that this red area of cancer, how deep that cancer goes and how much radiation should go in the depth. Then came the planning with that was in one plane, that was in X-ray, that was in one plane, and then came the CT and MRI. So you could get in the depth in slices, forming a patient representation in the modern basis of radiotherapy. You could get the tumor in slices, and you could see in slices where the tumor has gone. The beam directives can then be chosen, how deep. Suppose this area the tumor is more deep, so your beam has to be directed in this more, and the beam has to be less here. So beam directions can be then modified in which section of the tumor can be, that is in the planning stage. Further newer methods came, and they were called as IMRT, that is intensity modulated radiation therapy. When you are giving radiation for a particular time, you can regulate the intensity in the whole duration also. Then image guided radiation therapy was in continuation. Then came proton therapy, neutron therapy, stereostatic body radiotherapy, PET CT guided radiation. These all have been tried in gynecological cancer. What is IMRT? IMRT is intensity modulated radiation therapy. What is called as? It is called as inverse planning. What you were doing is planning in the 2D and 3D. This is inverse planning. What you take is that you take a multi-leaf collimators. The advantage is that there is a reduction of amount of radiation dose which is received. Suppose in gynecological cancer, you have rectum and bladder very nearby to uterus. So you have to have multi-leaf collimators, so that the dose which is going to this beam is directed, so that it is directed only to the uterus, and by those collimators you can protect the small bowel or bone marrow or bladder, so that less of the dose reaches the normal areas or vital areas. IMRT is basically used when there is a post-operative setting, that is where you have already done surgery. So still it is under evaluation for intact cervix, but it has been tried for post-operative setting. The result was that there was a significant reduction of gastrointestinal toxicity as compared to clinical outcome. The patients who received IMRT had fewer grade 2 and grade 3 GI toxicities as compared to what we did in 2D and 3D. So better target dose conformity was there, sparing the small bowel, bladder and rectum. But the revolution continued, and then came IGRT. What is IGRT? That is, it is a image guided radiation therapy. It is basically for mobile organs. Suppose the uterus is there in place, but it has, as the patient moves, the organ also moves. So proper patient repositioning for the purpose of ensuring accurate treatment, especially where there is a large mobile uterus is there and the patient is young. So mobile organs, you use IGRT. So there came conventional radiotherapy, then came 3D CRT, that is uniform intensity across the fields, irregular shape field, then came IMRT, and then came IGRT. So IGRT was basically to remove the accuracy of the patient, to manage the internal organ motion, adapt the treatment to changes, and therefore within the treatment you could do a dynamic adaptive change. There are proton and neutron therapy depending upon what you are using. These are basically, they act on the protons and neutrons at the orbit, and these rays cause them to dislodge from their orbits. The rationale is to improvement of therapeutic ratio by reducing the radiation dose to non-targeted tissues. Proton therapy can offer best way of sparing the small bowels and rectum to contribute to the significant decrease in the toxicities. Similarly, neutron beam therapy for those difficult to kill by conventional radiation. There is another term called as stereostatic body radiotherapy, which is basically with large fraction sizes. It is not a primary therapy, not used as a replacement also, but suppose you are doing a second look, so there is an isolated para-aortic lymph node which is present, and therefore this type of radiation you give to a large fraction sizes of a single node, that is stereotatic. What is image guided brachytherapy? Currently, image guided adaptive brachytherapy in gynecological malignancy is based on CT and MRI. Ultrasonography as an imaging modality for guidance is also being explored. So when you are giving these, at the same time you are doing CT, MRI or sonography, so that you get a better idea, especially at the time of staging. Of suppose in cancer cervix you are using it, or MRI you are using it for early advanced disease, you can stage the disease. There is another terminology called PET scan or positron emission tomography. It helps to reveal how much tissue organs are functioning. This comes to the functioning part. It uses radioactive drug or a tracer to show this activity. With a 75% sensitivity, 96% specificity for detection of pelvic lymph nodes and for the para-aortic lymph nodes as well. You can combine it with CT, so it becomes a PET CT. When you are using a radio labeled glucose, it identifies the malignant cells with very high sensitivity. So that is called as metabolic imaging. What you give is that you allow the patient to drink a lot of glucose filled material, and then what happens is that the cancer cells already have ischemia and hypoxia, and what does it do? The tumor cells, they rapidly uptake, the tumor cells are hungry, there is a glucose hunger, and when you give the patient a lot of glucose, the tumor cells take the glucose. Even in the presence of oxygen and fully functioning mitochondria, they produce a lot of lactic acid, and this is called as a Warburg effect. So this molecule, which has been labeled as a molecule of the century, that is which is the molecule which has been loaded with glucose. This cancer cells which have ischemia, they switch from anaerobic metabolism using glucose as a substrate, and rapidly growing cancer cells show increased uptake of this radio labeled glucose. So when you have given glucose, then the cancer cells take this glucose, it has been labeled with a radioactive material, and what you get is this type of image. So you can see wherever there is an uptake of glucose, it means that the mets are in that place, or there is a spread, because the cancer cell, suppose you are dealing with a cancer cell of uterus, then the cancer has spread into the urinary bladder, the cancer has spread here in the abdomen, then there is a spread in the brain, and this is how you get a picture of PET scan. So this is a glucose labeled glucose labeled molecule which is labeled with radioactive isotope, and then you allow the patient to drink. The cancer cells take this glucose because they are hungry, and then you take a scan by a PET CT. So this you take a scan and you do a staging, that how much it is stage 1, stage 2, depending upon whether it is to the regional lymph nodes or into the abdomen or into the lungs or into the brain. So there came a CT where you found out, then came the PET, and then it is the PET CT where this is the highest modality which is available now, is the PET CT. This is the role of imaging in gynec cancer. What could be the possible side effects? Of course, the patient would be fatigued, and you advise such patients who are on radiotherapy for 5 to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, you advise them adequate rest. There is a loss of appetite in such patients and nausea, vomiting, you give them antiemetics and proper diet. There may be depression, you treat that, and therefore depending upon the organ symptoms, possible side effects may be there. Coming to the third modality of treatment, that is chemotherapy. Chemo refers to more than 100 medications which are used. Eliminating all the cancer cells is not possible at times, and the goal of treatment is to slow down the growth of cancer to keep it from spreading and relieving. The routes can be anything. You can give it oral, injectable, IV, topical. Chemo can be delivered by catheter, by ports, to directly into the blood vessels. You can give any modality. Basically, the cancer chemotherapy, like any other history, can be traced back by ancient Egyptians, which we saw in surgery, we saw in history, that is X-rays. Compounds of barley were used as a chemotherapeutic agents. In the World War II, it was found that soldiers who had been exposed to sulfur mustard suffered with lower WBC counts. This led to the invention of nitrogen mustard for toxic leukemias or lymphoid leukemias, where they can decrease the WBC counts. So the approach is different in chemotherapy. You are not removing the tumor, you are only giving agents, anti-cancer and cytotoxic drugs, which primarily interfere with the DNA synthesis by the synthesis and mitosis stage of the cell cycle to destroy the cancer cells. And basically it is not only destroying the cancer cells but also affecting the normal cells, and therefore it is producing side effects which are basically not permanent, and the normal tissues then they repair themselves and continue to grow, so the side effects may not be permanent. Just like scalpels, lasers, electric currents used in surgery, the weapons for cancer chemotherapy are drugs, and they attack the same target within the cell. The drugs can be administered, we saw, by various modalities. It can be primary chemotherapy, where the sole anti-cancer treatment. It can be adjuvant, where you do surgery and then for mop-up residual disease you give a chemo dose. There can be neoadjuvant, that is before surgery to shrink the size of the tumor, you give a chemo doses of 3 cycles suppose, then you do surgery and then you give another chemo of 3 doses. It could be concurrent, that is when the surgery has been done, then simultaneously you give radiotherapy also and start with the chemo drugs also, that is called as concurrent adjuvant therapy. The multimodality therapy is that chemotherapy and radiation therapy. Suppose when the tumor has been incompletely removed, you find so many nodes, so concurrent chemo radiation can be done, concurrent chemo and hormone can be done, concurrent chemo and immunotherapy can be done, chemo with targeted therapy can be done, palliative chemotherapy can also be done. The agents are very many. You have learned all that in pharmacology. There are alkylating cancer agents, there are antimetabolites, plant alkaloids and anti-tumor antibiotics. They are various acting at various stages of DNA. That is, they can act at purine and pyrimidine antagonist. It can be dexamethasone. It can be alkylating agents acting at different. There can be methotrexate. They can be various acting at various cell cycles. Of course, they are not free of side effects. They form various side effects. They can, first of all, bone marrow depression is the most common. Then there can be oral side effects, nausea, vomiting, GI side effects, anorexia can be there. Other GI side effects can be there. Alopecia, loss of hair can be there. Of course, you have to teratogenicity if it is given in pregnancy. So you have to think before dispensing to pregnant and lactating mothers and children. Coming to other modalities, that is hormone therapy. Basically, it is used for those cancers like breast and prostate, which are hormone dependent. So they these chemicals as hormones can be used. Rarely given as a single agent to cure the cancer, it is often used to delay or recurrence of cancer. Can be added with chemoradiation or regional micrometastasis. The best example is tamoxifen, which is used as a synthetic anti-estrogen for the recurrence or delay in case of breast cancer. It is also known as endocrine therapy, that is prostate and breast being the more common for those malignancies which are hormone responsive, like most of the, at many times it can be melanoma, hypermelanoma also. Prednisolone is one of the common hormone that is administered for cancer patients, especially for multi-agent chemotherapy is used. There are anti-hormones also. Tamoxifen is an example to it, where it becomes a standard line of treatment for most of the cancer surgeries. There is a term called biological therapy, immunotherapy, or biological response modifier therapy as well. There are interferons which have been used which change these are basically they interfere with the virus ability to produce and proliferate the immune response. In fact, they literally interfere with the virus replication. The only used is the alpha interferons, which has been approved for cancer treatment. There are monoclonal antibodies which have been lab engineered and they have been used for tumor assisted proteins. They may be used such as toxins and chemotherapeutic drugs and radioisotopes. There can be interleukins. Interleukin 2 has been used for various cancer therapies. That is also one of the modalities of treatment. You can combine many multimodal therapies can be there, and the therapies may be in sequence at the same time or with various timing formats. You can combine surgery with chemo. You can combine it with that is what you call as adjuvant. The main reason being that one treatment may be more effective at a certain stage of cancer than the other. It may be that one treatment may enhance the effectiveness of the other, that is synergistic effect, and one treatment alone may not treat the tumor completely. Why you are doing a combination? That is, suppose the radiation therapy is most effective at the margins or edges of the tumor. Maybe it is not effective at the center of the tumor. So you have removed the main center part by surgery, and the margins which you have left behind, the micro cancer cells, you are dealing it with the radiotherapy. So surgery you have done to remove the tumor. You may be unable to eliminate all the cancer cells surrounding it by cutting too much into the normal tissue, and therefore you combine as a adjuvant or combination therapy. What is subsequent therapy? Subsequent is different. It is not combination. It is that when you have given a particular chemotherapeutic agent, and after it is determined that that chemotherapeutic agent which was used is not effective, and it has to become it has completed its course, or it has to be stopped, it has to be changed, then you add on to the second agent, and then it is called as subsequent therapy. What is placebo effect? Placebo means fake. That is an inert substance. It is basically a sugar pill. It gives a psychological advantage. The patients believe that if I believe the pill will help, it will help. So some patients, there has to be given some placebos for their psychological benefit. What about follow-up? All types of modalities require a follow-up. Maybe a surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, any type of hormone, immunotherapy. Any modality you use, they require follow-up. What is the main purpose of follow-up? Codman said that the main purpose of follow-up is to determine if what treatment you have given has really worked or not. It gives you time for medical surveillance to determine the outcomes of treatment. It also gives you time to monitor the health status of the patient you have treated. Follow-up information helps to document whether some residual disease is there, whether there is a recurrence, whether there is further spread, whether there is some other additional malignancy. It gives you, what about the National Cancer Registry? National Cancer Registries follow a code of ethics of confidentiality of the cancer patient and the staff conduct also. So that is the importance of follow-up. Apart from that, more so for the cancer patients is gene therapy. There are certain tumor vaccines which are available. Palliative therapy has a great role. Nutrition and pain relief and the relief of symptoms, and of course psychological support for depression of the patients is required. So coming to the end of the lesson, there are 7 steps to prevent cancer. You should advise most of the preventive months. They advise these flexes that don't use tobacco, protect skin from the sun, have a healthy diet, maintain weight and have a good physical activity, practice safe sex, avoid risky behaviors, get all immunizations by vaccine, by hepatitis and HPV vaccines, and know your family and medical history and get regular screenings of the, and of course some modalities to stop cancer. So we end here about the general concepts of the cancer, and again I repeat that cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and definitely cannot touch my soul. Thank you so much.